Who the hell is Amy May Ellis?
Well, who is she? Well, we're about to find out because we conducted an interview with our good friend Amy May Ellis, who has recorded an album for Lost Map. It's coming out this month. It's called Over Ling and Bell. It was recorded with producer Rob Pemberton, and Amy tells us all about her life in music, her beginnings in music, and the making of the album, and goes through some of her favourite tracks from the record as well. But enough of me talking. Let's hear from Amy.
Look left, look right. Another feeling that is not quite sitting right. I see wild geese, although their wings are not touching the city. They're too far away from here to hit. Too far away from here to hit.
Hello, my name is Amy May Ellis, and I am sitting in my room in Bristol, looking out at the grey sky and the good trees. I can see 2 magpies, which is always good, isn't it? Today I have been having a good old rest and trying to find some new shoes to buy because all my shoes have holes in them.
Look left, look right. Another feeling that is not quite sitting right. It's been hilly. One thing will do. On days I get to see.
I have been making music for, I think it's been 10 years. I played piano for a long time, but got stuck at grade 3 and couldn't get past that point. My granddad bought me a ukulele, which was a baritone ukulele tuned to a guitar. Yeah, that just allowed me to start writing and opened up a whole world of music. And I started playing gigs. I grew up in the North York Moors, and I was very lucky that there was an amazing venue in the Dale that I grew up in called the Band Room. I spent a lot of my childhood going to gigs there and seeing artists from all around the world really come and play. A lot of artists from America. Yeah, and I think that was very instrumental to me falling in love with music and the idea of playing gigs. I moved from Farndale to York when I was 16 and met lots of really great humans who were all very creative. We would all go play at open mics together, and yeah, there was just a lot of singing, a lot of people singing together. And through that I met my band, who I worked with for a long time. I would go round to my friend's house after I finished work and take a song, and they would write some parts, and they slowly convinced me that I had enough material to start recording, which I think was a really big step to decide that I wanted to give it the time and energy and also the money, because it's a big investment. I was funding it all on my own, so it felt like a big thing to be doing. I'm not sure if I would have done it if I didn't have such a great group of people and such a wonderful studio to work in. Yeah, so I think I owe a lot to that group and to York in general. It's got a fab scene and some really great venues and promoters who, have kind of been behind me from the beginning.
I know a lot about what I don't know. I know a lot about what I need to learn. I know a lot about hurt. I know a lot about unconsciously breathing, unconsciously making, unconsciously living. These games that you're playing aren't for winning, dear. No one's winning here. And these stones you are laying aren't for living.
When I first started writing, I think I was mostly inspired by big feelings and linking them to something outside of myself. The first 4 EPs, each one is based around an element. So there was Weathered by Waves, We Got Fire, Oh, When in the Wind, and Where My Garden Lies. Yeah, so there's something about these really strong inside feelings and getting them out of myself and down in a format that could be relatable and linked to something bigger. With this album, I had more of a sense of what it was I was wanting to talk about and the stories I was wanting to capture. And there were big feelings as well that I wanted to catch. But it felt like it kind of had a setting, which was the North Moors, where I was writing for quite a long time. And a lot of ideas around land and humans' relationships with the land and how we've changed it and depend on it. And histories as well. I went on a lot of walks when I was writing with my uncle. There's quite a lot of tumbled down farmhouses on the tops or near the tops of the moors, which would have been left, I guess, because they were hard to farm. It's hard to farm the higher up you go. So yeah, there was these kind of remains of people's lives, and my uncle used to go up and kind of like dig around in the soil, and you'd always find like old door handles or bits of broken cups. And yeah, I was really fascinated by the idea of like digging up the soil and trying to work out where we'd come from, and yeah, the people that had shaped us and how those people had shaped the land. Within that, there was then a lot of thought around illness and imbalance, and within humans' relationship with the land and within human relationships in general.
Working for the bosses, tired my enemy. This cold is dusty, it's cold and dusty,
I think the album took about a year to write. There were some songs that were floating around for a while before then. I started writing in Yorkshire and did a lot of writing with my friend Kaz, and he played drums and we got some demos together, and then I took those demos down to Rob in Stroud and we worked on one song to begin with, and it was really lovely. So yeah, we kind of set out on the mission to record the whole album, and I got some demos that I'd just done on my own on my computer. So yeah, we worked from those, and Rob plays all of the instruments, so we were able to just kind of keep it between our two brains, and Alex came in and put some double bass down at the beginning. Yeah, then we spent a lot of time working out what other instruments it needed and what the other parts were. And I think that was maybe the hardest bit, was yeah, just like the finishing touches and rounding everything off, and yeah, deciding when to say it was done.
look in the eyes that will wake her. Look in the eyes that will wake her. And look in the eyes that will wake her. And look in the
The first single was called Rain from the East and was written in Farndale, watching the rain coming in down the dale after a day of struggling to write a song and feeling quite tired. And it's about grief and feeling worn down and trying to rest.
rain from the east, rain from the west, and though it is busy, I'm trying my best.
Wild Geese was the second single. That was actually written partly in Bristol after I saw some geese fly over the house, and I think it was during a lockdown, so I'd been stuck in the house for a while, and I remember opening the window to try and hear them, but they were too far away. Later that day I called my dad, and he said that he'd seen some geese in Yorkshire and they were so close when they flew over he could almost reach up and touch them. And yeah, it made me feel quite far away from the wild things. It's also a little bit based on the poem Wild Geese by Mary Oliver.
Maybe this is what our guild does. Maybe this is how it left us. Maybe this is what our guild does. Maybe this is how we surface for it.
Log Latch Pine was probably the most playful song to write. I recorded the sound of a door latch and a log falling on a log pile and pine cone, and then mixed in some sounds of a radio tuning in and out of stations, and made up a beat of all of those things. And then the lyrics kind of just came over the top of that and explore the image of the moors and their current kind of barren state, in the knowledge that they were at one point covered in trees, which were mostly felled by humans. And I guess the song asks what the cost of that has been.
Our lives, what a deadly way to turn them. Our life, dive right a river down. Keep on pulling memories from stone. Hard day, pulling minerals from sun.
Old Mother was written towards the end of recording the album, and I felt like I really wanted to include something that spoke about the witches who apparently used to live in the North York Moors and supposedly could turn into black dogs and brown hares and caused a lot of mischief. And this song, I guess, is me imagining them all meeting up and their friendship and them sipping tea and spinning wool. And I suppose just generally explores that kind of feminine friendship, which I think is often overshadowed by romantic relationships, but I think can be just as fruitful and powerful, and kind of act as a compass in life, because they quite often span for a long time and outlive a lot of romantic relationships.
Oh, mother, come on over. Sink into the morning's closer. Oh, mother, come on over. Find the thread, though it is tattered. Escapes me, ignore the road. Here comes another one looking for trouble. They won't tame me, though they'd like to see.
I'm going on tour with the band, which is really exciting. In May, we're starting in Bristol on the 18th, and then we travel up the country and play London, Coventry, Leeds, Farndale, York, Newcastle, and then end in Glasgow on the 31st of May for the Lost Map Under Gaia, which I'm very excited about. And then hopefully another tour in autumn. Going to be starting to write again. I try to figure out how to do that. I'm trying not to plan too far ahead because I like to do things slowly, as you can tell from this recording. That's all from me. Thank you. Bye, ta!
Oh, mother, come on over. Sink into the morning's closer. Oh, mother, come on over. Find the thread, though it is hearts meet. From time to time our hearts beat. And time this time our hearts meet. And time this time our hearts beat. And time you held me up. I needed that you loved me. I loved you back, we sit here in the war of it all, our minds meet, and it makes my oh, mother, come on over, sinking till the morning's closer.
That was Odd Mother by Amy May Ellis, taken from her album Over Ling and Bell. And we just heard Amy May Ellis chatting about her album there. And what a very wholesome chat it was, I have to say. Very nice indeed. Yeah, it's lovely hearing about the making of the record and all the people that she's thankful for.
There's a lot of gratitude in that. I felt it.
It was very wholesome, wasn't it? It was nice. And it's a fantastic record as well. It's so funny how that album kind of came into like our hands. We've discussed it on the pod before, but yeah, Amy reached out and told us about the tiny Mark in her life, which is her uncle Mark. And yeah, she sent with that email a demo, a playlist on SoundCloud of her recent tunes, and I listened to them and got really into them, and thus a friendship was born.
All thanks to the podcast.
She did once tell me when I saw her, I can't remember if I revealed this on the podcast already, but when I saw her, I played in Bristol last year and she came along to the show and it was my birthday, so I got really drunk and we all went out drinking afterwards.
Not just on your birthday, Johnny.
It was just on my birthday. I got really drunk, not any other days. And then at the end of the night, we'd sort of decided at that point that the album was going to come out on Lost Map.
Drunk.
Well, and we'd already decided pre-drinking. Okay. That had been a few weeks beforehand. But
if you want a record happen,
just get big, just trail drunk
on his birthday.
I mean, it's not a bad tactic if anyone's listening.
Come to me on Johnny Lynch's birthday.
But yeah, I remember she reminded me afterwards that I'd said to her that, oh, it's a shame that she's joining Lost Map because I'm going to destroy her. I'm going to destroy you. And she reminded me of this a few days afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, I was really drunk. I was just joking. I'm not going to destroy you. I'm going to release your music to the tens of listeners of our podcast. Wow. We're going to make pounds and pounds of money.
Wow.